Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Maria Fernanda. I speak on behalf of Projeto Legal, which is a Brazilian organization dealing mostly with violence against children, especially police force violence. I'm here only speak briefly due to our time, but I will talk about two main interventions that Projeto Legal did on the UN, especially on the Committee on the Rights of the Child. So the first one was a communication about sent by the Projeto Legal and other 6 organizations, Brazilian organizations, about the violence of police violence during operations in favelas and comunidades of community, poor community in Brazil, but especially in Rio de Janeiro, which is our city. We had this on July of 2021. We had a big intervention in a favela called Jacarezinho, which occurred the most lethal massacre on the history of Rio de Janeiro, with 28 deaths, and especially 1 children. So due to this operation, which was a symbolic and historical operation in terms of lethality, police lethality, we send a communication to the Committee on the Rights of the Child through the protocol number 3, which is the protocol number 3, which is linked to the Convention on the Right of the Child. The committee, it's a treaty monetary department in the UN, especially on the human rights sector, and he deals with the monitoring the execution of the Convention on the Right of the Child. So if you have you're from a state that has ratified the convention, then the committee can deal with any kinds of situations relating to the child and relating to the convention in that state. And the protocol number 3, it's a recently one who deals with a specific kind of communication dealing with systematic violations on the right of the child. So it has a higher bar, but it means the strongest response on the committee. So, and then you also have to check if your state also has ratified that particular protocol. And only that way you can send a communication to the committee. So in this case, we send the communication dealing with violations on the right of the child due to those operations, not only for the right to life, but also the right to education and leisure and communitary convivence, because when you have one of those operations, not only lives are taken, but also the schools are closed, and also the public leisure centers are also closed. So it affects the life of the child in a whole different aspect, and in a lot of different aspects. So we send that communication, and last year we received the response from the committee that they start inquiry on the situation of police violence in Brazil against children. So it's the first time there is an investigation open due to that protocol in Brazil. So it became like a main important way of trying to advocate in the international level when the national level it's not really responding to those violations. If you could just put that on. Thank you. So we also created, regarding to that investigation, we also created an observatory where the Projeto Legal and other organizations, where we want to receive denunciations and cases of violations all around Brazil, that we can also take those informations and send to the committee to help them with their investigation and in their conclusion of the violations happening in Brazil. So, and also, can you pass? Thank you. And you can see images of of police officers with guns and right next to children. So that's very common, unfortunately, in Brazil, especially on the favelas and communities. So that's why it's important to bring the UN and especially the Committee on the Rights of the Child into Brazil. They will probably conduct in-place investigations in Brazil, and they will send representatives here to understand the situation in person. So that also means a lot to all the NGOs involved and other NGOs that may be involved, can be involved with that investigation. And the second situation that we would like to address is we send a report also to the Committee on the Rights of the Child due to our former president, Jair Bolsonaro, who used to have a really strong agenda on guns, and normally in his speeches and public events he would hold children and do sign guns, and even children dressed as a military force or police in police uniforms. So that happened a lot in different events during the year of 2020 to 2021, when he was addressing his campaign for the last election that he lost. But then we also did the report and sent it to the committee, telling that the president was using children to explore his agenda, and that agenda cannot be associated with children, because you cannot associate military activities and guns and all of those sort of things with children. You cannot use their image and you cannot associate them. And that's also one of the protocols in the Convention on the Rights of the Child. And the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child issued a public note to Brazil, saying that Brazil have to refrain from using, and especially the president at the time, have to refrain from using children in his agenda and in public, and associate children with guns and military forces and so over. So, and then you can also pass to the last slide, please. Yeah, and then I think that's also an important thing, because we can see here that public note became headline in a lot of different newspapers in Brazil, and that's a very good effect that you can have from that, because you can, first of all, make the public know about the note that was issued, and then that can also make the public and the society in general to force and to put more pressure in the state there or in the government that are doing the violation. So it's also very important to bring the media and trying to speak and try to bring all these issues to the media, because they will help you as an organization and help you to address the situation and maybe put more public pressure on the government. So I think those are two successful examples of our advocacy in the international law. Thank you.